Yo, man.
It's been a crazy week, man, with a lot of things.
Yeah.
With
Talk about it, man. Talk about it. How you doing, Daily Laker?
the Daily
What
Laker.
episode? What episode is this?
Mm, you know what? What I think we've done one a week for since the first week. I think that the season started, and right now the Lakers are what 14-6. So it's been 20 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a couple of weeks. It's got to be like week 6 or something for us, but. Um, it, I mean, we've been consistent, so that's dope. Yesterday there was a lot of rain and there was a lot going on, so we skipped out on Thursdays, but still we're back today.
Yeah, we're back, man. We didn't miss the Laker talk. It's been a couple losses, so I think that's what's at the top of every Laker fan's mind, especially yesterday's game. We
Hmm.
felt like just that was just I think the most frustrating game the whole season. You
Yeah,
know.
it did feel different. I think there was a lot. So a couple of things that I've read, right, and I'll bring them up just to see what your thoughts are. So first, this is a big um, trip for them. They're gonna be away from LA, right? So this is the first big trip for them. So I think just that in general is something that is more challenging this year than any year, right? Just not having the ability um, to even practice in a normal setting. You know what I mean? Even just that, like I read a story about the Lakers almost using the games as their practices because they don't practice the same amount of times that they used to in previous seasons. And I'm sure it's not just the Lakers. It's got to be other teams as well. But as we know, every state kind of has different regulations, and so there's some states that are open, a lot more open, and I think that expands to even professional sports, right? With fans being able to be in attendance at some arenas. So I think if the states that are open like that to the fans, they're also more open to teams with practices. And I think here in LA, obviously, we have a lot of restrictions. So I believe that they don't have the same amount of practices that they usually would because of the restrictions of that. So that's one thing. What are your thoughts on just the practice? Talking about practice, talking about the road trip.
Honestly, I think it's still too early to for fatigue, like for true fatigue, to be kicking in. The one thing I would say about the Lakers is, you know what, they for any other team, right? For any other team, I think fatigue is way too early. For the Lakers, I would say that, hey, you know what, they did just win the championship not too long ago,
Hmm.
But at the same time, they've been blowing out a bunch of games, so the superstars have been getting rest at the end of fourth quarters. Cool. So yeah, the fatigue,
Hmm.
um, I think shouldn't be kicking in yet. But it's kind of like it's too early to know if it's an issue,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of in that like quasi stage where it's like you don't know if you should worry about it, or you also don't know if you might be overreacting if you if you um if you do worry.
Right.
So me, knowing the leadership that's on this team, I might have a conversation. I'm thinking coaching staff. I might have a conversation, just with LeBron. How do you feel? Like how do you feel? Talk with Anthony Davis. How do you feel? If they say, listen, we're good, then I wouldn't. I would as a coaching staff. You know what? Take a step back. Go through the motions, right? But if there's legit fatigue, then yeah, I mean, I might be looking at even sitting out LeBron, even sitting out AD, and I think we're deep enough for some of these games to allow that, and I think that'll also create some good competition at the bottom of the rotation,
Yeah.
but I'm still not worried. I'm still not worried. So I guess that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And with this last game with the Pistons, I feel like the downfall of it was that there was a lot of expectations for the Lakers to win because the Pistons are not a very good team. The previous game against the 76ers, that was a tough game. They lost just by 1 point, but the 76ers are number one in the Eastern Conference, so we knew it was going to be a tough game. And the Lakers did not perform as well as they usually do, as well as we've seen them. So we know that they took a step back in that game. The energy just wasn't there. And then with the Pistons, kind of similar thing. The energy kind of wasn't there. I feel like they were lost on defense. There was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of switching on pick and rolls, and we've seen this before. We know that whenever they get into that little uh, trend of just like not knowing where to be, not knowing their role, and that comes with AD not being there, right? So with him missing, then somebody has to step up. Kuzma stepped up. I thought he actually did very well um, for for starting, but other guys have to step up as well. And um, AD is usually there, right? This is only like the second or third game that he's missed. So when he's not there, it's kind of like a scramble. Like, okay, we know we have the talent, the guys to step in and take over his stats in a way, his points and defense. But it's still a scramble to try and figure it out how to function without him, with such a gravitating force, right? Whenever he's on the court. So I did see a lot of that yesterday against the Pistons, and I thought the Lakers put up a fight for a lot of the game, especially the first half. The first half they were leading, and then third quarter was still okay. Fourth quarter they kind of just got lost a little bit. That's where I saw most of the scrambling.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know that you kind of it's one of those cases where you rely on somebody so much that when they're not there, you use the perfect word scrambling because you don't know what to do.
Hmm.
And you know you brought up another good point in Kuz because I feel like this whole season whenever he's his number is called to start, he steps up. He steps up. So I think that's a good thing for him. I think he should continue to do that any moment he gets to be in the starting rotation. He should capitalize on that, because that's only gonna fare well. And I think he knows. I think he's aware that he on a lot of other teams would be a starter.
Hmm.
On a lot of other teams in the league, he'd be a starter. But on this, particular roster, he needs to come off the bench, and I think he's accepted that. But I also think he should always shoot to be a starter because
Yeah.
I think I was talking about Kuz this yesterday with some coworkers, and it was the question was because they had that limited release jersey. I'm not sure if you got a chance
No.
to take a look at it. It's pretty cool. It's like a white jersey, but they were asking, "Oh, which jersey would you love to get?" And I was like, honestly, because I love homegrown products. If Kuzma was doing better, I would want to get Kuzma's.
Hmm.
But aside from that, right now I'm waiting to see who my favorite Laker is yet. I haven't I
Yeah.
haven't I haven't picked one yet. So.
Yeah.
Um, but for him to step up, like he did yesterday, I think is good. Any word on Anthony Davis?
So
How long?
from my understanding, it's just quad contusion, like knee bumping. So it's more of just a discomfort. It's just about rest and letting it just heal up a little bit with time, and he should be able to come back even tomorrow against the Celtics.
Another big game, man.
Another big game, exactly. Yeah, the next few games, the Hawks as well. But one other thing that I wanted to point out before we get a little bit further in, um, the Lakers played against the Miami Heat in the finals not too long ago. Look at how Miami's doing right now. They're 13th place, and COVID has a lot to do with it because I know a lot of their players are not able to play because they've been restricted with the health protocols. But still, I think that's something to compare. You know what I mean? Both teams were at the finals, and right now, if we look at where they are this season so far, the Lakers are still, I believe, third right now in the West, behind
They're
the
they're
Nuggets and the Clippers. But Miami is way down
last.
there.
The
Huh?
Jazz are in first place.
Or the
What?
Jazz, yeah.
A 10 game win streak.
They're sneaky, man. They're so sneaky.
Yeah, the standings are a little bit weird, but yeah, that's a good point. The Heat are, at the bottom, and that's kind of surprising because you expect somebody who just came off the finals and most of their roster returned, if not
Hmm.
all. You expect them to be compete, which I think I've seen a couple highlights, and they are in games, they are competing. But yeah, they just seem like they're not they're not able to win those games. But the Sixers, I'm not gonna lie, man, they look good. They
They
look
do.
good. I That kind of was unexpected for me. I wasn't expecting them to look that good.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons really surprised me. He looks like he's playing with a lot of energy.
Hmm.
Um, and I think Doc Rivers is giving him the confidence to go out there and be himself, because we know he's not a shooter.
Hmm.
We know he's not, too much of a threat from behind the arc. But he's saying, screw that. I'm gonna drive, and he's kind of having that. In a way, he's playing of kind of like a young Russell Westbrook,
Right.
where like I'm gonna start really high, and then I'm gonna just drive and overpower you with a cut and get a layup or get a a jumper, a quick jumper. So he's playing with that, so that they look scary. They look scary. I think they definitely look better than the Bucks to me.
And they got a deep team. And Dwight Howard and Danny Green, they're championship players. So they're coming off that experience.
And Danny Green, for whatever reason, he looked really good.
He did.
He looked really good. I was like, who is this guy? Because I felt like with the Lakers, we got really a shell of what he was, with other teams. But
Hmm.
he looked like the Danny Green of the Toronto Raptors,
Hmm.
of the Spurs. So I was just like, what? But like, if he would have played like that, he'd still be a Laker. I promise you.
They would have kept him. Yeah.
Yeah, he would have
I,
kept.
I read somewhere, so I didn't do more research besides just reading it. But apparently, Dwight Howard got his ring yesterday when they played, or sorry, on the 27th on Wednesday when they played it against the Lakers. But Danny Green decided not to receive the ring there. He wants to wait until the fans are at the Lakers, the Staples Center, and he wants to receive it there so the fans can see him get it. So I
Uh,
don't know. I don't know how to take that. I don't know if that's like a troll type of thing, like, because they
yeah.
were giving him death threats, and they,
Aren't all the Lakers waiting, or they got their rings? No, they're waiting for the banner. They're waiting
they
for the banner.
yeah, yeah, they're waiting for the banner. They got the ring already. Uh,
Yeah, I guess I could see that, because I don't know. That's weird.
it's weird, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how to interpret what he's trying to do, but I was just like, that's interesting that he made that decision, right? And Dwight Howard was just like, let me just get it. I'm good. I'll
What,
take that.
what would you do?
I'll take it. I mean, I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'll be like, I want it. I was part of the team. Let me get it. I'm done with LA. I'm here now. I'm with, Philadelphia, the 76ers. We're doing good. So, whatever happened in the past happened. But I think he still has a little bit of a grudge.
Yeah, hey, the Sixers are good though, man. They they definitely surprised me. And they got some shooting too, because Seth Curry's a good shooter. Obviously, Danny Green and Dwight Howard just came off of a championship run, so they got that championship mentality. The Sixers are relying them as anchors in the this is what it takes to get there conversation in the locker room.
Yeah.
And then Tobias Harris was like dropping these weird shots that were just like,
The
man, he's I didn't even I haven't watched him play in a long time, so I was like, hey, he's that good? What?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it
And
was a fun
and
game.
it was. And remember that Tobias Harris played under Doc Rivers, right, with the Clippers. So they have that relationship already.
Right.
So,
I forgot that. I
l-
forgot that.
like what you're saying about like Ben Simmons kind of being unlocked with Doc Rivers just kind of letting him go. I feel the same way about Tobias Harris. I feel the same way about Embiid. Embiid is doing really well this season as well. So yeah, man, I think they're definitely en route to be a really good contending team for the championship. So last year, I think Miami came in as kind of like a underdog, but I feel like the 76ers have been on the way for a few years, and then the addition of Dwight Howard and Danny Green, it just gives them that extra bump, that little bump they needed. And Doc Rivers as well, right? New coach. I feel like they're getting all these little pieces together to put them at the top.
Yeah, and last thing I think I'll say about Ben Simmons, I think it was an interview that I saw with Doc Rivers. He mentioned, everybody talks about he's not a great shooter this, he's not a great shooter that. I tell them just go play your game. Don't worry about what you don't be good or what you're not good at.
Hmm.
Go be good at what you're good at. Go play to your strengths.
Exactly.
So I think he's doing that, and it's showing. So that team is just a lot of confidence in that team is what I see so far. Which, that's all Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
Uh, so the Eastern Conference though, they're in first place with the Nets behind them, and then the Bucks in third, Celtics in fourth. So we have the Celtics coming up.
The Hawks after that, and the Hawks are sixth.
Yeah, the Hawks. Let me check out the Hawks roster real quick if you don't mind. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude, the Hawks is an interesting game too because Trey Young, up and comer, and then they got Rondo, so I want to watch Rondo. So
You know what? I haven't heard much of Rondo, honestly. I even in fantasy basketball, he's on the waivers. Like nobody's picking him up. He was out in the beginning of the season, and then he's like been in and out of the lineup. So I don't know. He got paid, and then he's been out.
Rondo, man, he's coming at the playoffs.
Playoffs. Yeah, that's what he got paid for. Playoff Rondo.
If you get Rondo, he's waiting for the playoffs. That's what
Yeah.
he's doing.
Yeah. But they do have a good team. I think Trey Young obviously being the superstar in their team. And they got Clint Capella and John Collins that are, some up and comer big guys that are playing really good with Trey Young. So I do think they're a good team. I think the Lakers will be able to, dominate them. But it's not gonna be easy. The Celtics is gonna be a harder game.
Yeah, so tomorrow 5:30 p.m. is the Celtics game. Obviously, the biggest rivalry in basketball, right? The Celtics and the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always looking to beat them. So it should be a fun one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. THT also had a good game yesterday, man, against the Pistons. So I think, you talking about that, the jersey and homegrown, the first thought that I had was THT. I was like, oh, okay, if I had the opportunity to get a jersey, I'll probably take a THT just because he's still young and we've seen what he can do this season. We heard, the rumblings last season in the G League and then in the playoffs, and then now this season just kind of see him get more minutes. So I think that's a player, that deserves the attention that he's getting.
Yeah, again, him. It's gonna take minutes. I think
Hmm.
just finding those minutes for him. I think Frank Vogel's gonna have because he was inactive for a couple games, right?
Yeah. And
So
Frank Vogel just said it was just a matter of trying to get other guys minutes as well. It wasn't that he did anything wrong. It was just the bench is packed with good players.
yeah, imagine that. You got THT with DNPs because you try to
Hmm.
get everybody else involved. That uh, you know.
Yeah, it's a positive thing at the end of the day.
So man. Uh,
Uh,
so what's up? Anything else on those last couple games? I know a couple losses, but I'm
yeah.
not worried yet.
You know what? One thing that I did notice was Harrell. I don't know. To me, he did not look like he was the Harold that we're used to seeing. I don't know what it was, but he just he wasn't dominating in the post how he usually does, and he wasn't bringing the energy. Or at least I didn't see it. You know what I mean? The stats also were not in his favor in the last two games. So it was just something that I noticed.
Yeah, I would say I think you used a key word for him is energy, right? I think he's one of those players that he feeds off energy, and
Hmm.
when he's playing well is when his energy is high, and if he doesn't have that high energy, then he's undersized, you know. So he's undersized. So if he doesn't have that energy, he's gonna be exposed, especially going up against Joel Embiid on some plays. You know, like come
Yeah,
on, you're
that's
just
true.
you're
And
just
yeah, and
small.
Griffin, yeah. Yeah, let's see. Against the 76ers, he had 0 points and 1 rebound in 15 minutes.
Yeah, you see.
And then against the Pistons, he had um, 8 points and 3 rebounds in 23 minutes. So it's just not like him, you know what I mean? We've seen him be close to double doubles every game. So it was just off for him.
Yeah, I mean, from him we need 12 and 8,
Hmm.
12 and 8.
Yeah.
12 and 8. I think will be good. So I don't think we're expecting a lot from him. And if he's playing 20, what was the minutes? The first game he said
He had
18 minutes.
like 13 or something. Yeah, he
Yeah,
didn't
you
get
see,
much.
if he's getting 20 minutes, I think he needs to score at least 10 points and 8 rebounds.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he's got to figure out his rhythm again. He's got to get back into it. Especially when AD is out. That's also his opportunity to come in and just take advantage of that open space, right? Without AD.
Yeah, and also the 3 point shooting team because I we kind of out of nowhere we're like this crazy good 3 point shooting team, and then like any 3 point shooting team, if you go cold,
Yeah.
uh, you're not going to do well. So that was actually one thought that I had in mind is I want to see the Lakers win a game when their 3 point shooting is terrible.
Right.
Uh, because there was a point where they were like I think 4 for 12 or maybe 4 for 16, somewhere in that, on from three, and I was kind of like they need to learn how to win without the three, because the threes isn't always gonna go in. So if they
Yeah.
could figure out that piece, winning without the three, then it's done.
Yeah, and I do see them doing that because they are good at driving in, right? They have a lot of players that are playmakers, like LeBron, AD, even THT, Caruso off the bench. They come in and they can drive in and get those post, dunks, layups, and even pass it out for those open threes. So another thing to point out, though, since you bring up the the 3 pointer conversation, so KCP had 3 points against the 76ers and 6 points against the Pistons. So another guy that's slacking. He's in
Yeah.
the starting lineup as a starter, as a starting shooting guard. You know what I mean? Like that's a position where you need to be engaged in the offense. Getting under 10 points for him, I feel like it's just underperforming.
No, I agree. He definitely needs, for KCP, I think he needs bottom. You need to make at least three threes. That gives you the 9 points. From there, get in the lane a couple times, couple free throws, or maybe another jumper,
Hmm.
and you're at those 10 points. So you're absolutely right from there.
Yeah.
Um, I will say this. So no, on top of um, Trez, right? Marc Gasol didn't look good either.
I'm with you on that. Looking at him play, he just looks a little slow. You know what I mean?
He's
He
older.
he's
So
older. Yeah.
I think that may be something to look at because last year I think we I don't want to say we took it for granted because we knew what we had in Dwight Howard and in JaVale McGee.
Hmm.
But both of those guys were super energetic,
Yeah.
super energetic. And now this year we're relying on Trez and Marc Gasol, who we knew weren't gonna be the same wall, right? We had a wall last year. We had a wall, like a legit wall.
Hmm.
Um, we knew that they weren't going to be, that we are going to take a step back in that respect, but it looks like we have taken a step back pretty significantly, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the Lakers, that may be something that I'm looking at. If there's one thing that I'm kind of looking to shore up
Yeah.
that that center position, which I think we knew also, but it's starting to become a little more glaring, especially against the Joel Embiids, the Carl Anthony Towns,
Oh yeah.
uh, the Jokic's. So
Yeah.
against those teams, we're gonna need because we can put Anthony Davis on them, but again, that takes Anthony Davis so much energy on the defensive end,
Right.
which I think he should also step up sometimes, though.
Yeah.
But we do need somebody to carry that defensive load.
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, like you mentioned in the wall, I think we had three shot blockers last season, right? With Dwight Howard, McGee, and Davis. Now we have one because Mark Gasol is not known to be a shot blocker, and Harrell is not known to be a shot blocker. So that's a big decrease right there. At least just protecting the rim in that regard with blocks. So I do see that as a disadvantage and a weakness where other teams also see that and they want to go and attack the basket a little bit more because they know that they can get shots over Gasol. So I do see that as a weakness. I honestly would be cool with them figuring out how to get McGee back. He did good. He wasn't the best player obviously, but he did good, man. He did his job. He performed his role.
Yeah, no, no, I agree. You know, JaVale McGee did really good. Anytime he was asked to step up, I think Dwight Howard kind of overshined him a little bit,
Hmm.
but they had this kind of cool relationship where it was like,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna root for you when you're in there, and you root for me when I'm in there.
exactly.
So that was good about them, and yeah, I would love to see JaVale McGee back in. I
Yeah,
think that's the one area where if I'm the Lakers, I'm looking for an improvement.
yeah.
You know, right now there's no rules. Freaking the Nets just you know, come on, man.
I
We got
I even heard so Beal is looking to get out of Washington because he's not very happy there with the situation either. I even heard the Nets were looking to get him in the lineup.
come on, man. What are they gonna trade? Steve Nash?
Oh man.
It's like what are they gonna trade? Like it's like Boston when they traded a coach.
All right.
Chill
But
out, chill out, Brooklyn. Chill out, man.
they want everybody, dude. They want an all-star team. uh,
Uh,
but that's another option. I also like the Clippers, the Lakers were in that conversation as well, because it is still something to be aware of, right? That there's a three-headed monster with the Nets that needs to be accounted for later on in the playoffs. So the trading deadline, I believe, is in March. So there's still a couple, so a month and a half maybe, where the Lakers could potentially look for some opportunities out there.
yeah, and the thing with Bradley Beal, what if there was a trade with the Lakers, what would it be? I'd imagine THT's in there,
Yeah,
Russo and Kyle Kuzma. I think that's what they would look for.
I agree.
Do like if I'm the Wizards, right? If I'm
Mhm.
making that trade, I'm looking at THT, Caruso, and Kyle Kuzma. I'm saying, give me those three, and you could have Bradley Beal. Is that worth it? I don't think so.
I do it. I do it. So
Really?
I think it's a good thing for both teams because again, man, I'm thinking short term for the Lakers. They need to win championships in the next 1, 2, 3 years max, just because of LeBron, and he's gonna be retiring soon. So we need to have the lineup to win championships right now. And then the long term, Washington, they're not in a championship level right now. So I think they're okay with trading away a superstar to get younger guys to continue the rebuild in a sense. So I see a win-win from both situations, and I think Bradley Beal being in the Lakers, he'd be a good fit. I think I
I
think
yeah. Go ahead. Go. Sorry.
I just think he'll take over KCP's role.
Yeah. No. I could see it. I could see. I could see him fitting in perfectly with this team. Honestly, I could see him fitting in like the last piece to the puzzle for sure. And I think we'd be better than the Nets with the three-headed monster because I don't think we'd have that ego question. Which on
Yeah,
the Nets, it looks like they have that. With the Lakers, it's like, nah, LeBron is the floor general.
yeah.
Anthony Davis is already kind of like LeBron. I'm learning from you, and Bradley Beal would come into a situation where it's like the roles are almost already established, and you're coming into, it's just your role that needs to be figured out. So I agree that it's a good trade. I just don't know what the package would be like. I wouldn't want to give away the house either
Mhm.
because I mean we've done that in the past.
Yeah,
We've given
yeah.
away the house in the past and it's cost us, a long, long, long time. Um if if let's say you're the Wizards, what would you ask for?
I no, I think those players that you mentioned are perfect because Cal Kuzma has a few years under his belt, and we know that he can produce when he gets the minutes, offensively at least, right? Defensively, I feel like he still gets clowned on because he gets beat, he gets burned on drive-ins. Uh, but offensively, he's a good player. THT, huge potential. The ceiling right now seems like it's unlimited for him. He reminds me a little bit of Brandon Ingram, just ability. He can do anything. He can drive in, pass, shoot, defend with his long arms. I mean, he's got a lot of potential. And then Caruso, he's just a goat, man. We know that he might not be a starter, but coming off the bench, he'll produce. And he's a hustler, and he's got a lot of energy. He can get you in the highlight reel with some nice dunks. So I think those three would be a good package because it's not just a 1 year rental for those players. I feel like they're gonna be in the Wizards if they're able to figure out their contracts right and keep them for a few years. I think there's opportunity for them to kind of build around them, and the Wizards have already some good young guys, so I think it'll be a good young team if they get those guys.
Yeah, I would tell them, look, these three guys, I know that's who you want. Pick two of them, and I'll give you some picks. We'll figure out some picks.
So who would you take out of those three?
Honestly, if I'm, oh man, it's I don't even want to have that conversation.
'Cause
I didn't
it's
want to have that conversation because you know, I haven't seen enough of THT, but we know, like just yesterday in 14 minutes he got 13 points. 13 points
mhm.
in 14 minutes. So how efficient is he? Every time he goes in there, he's fearless. He drives.
Yeah.
He's so. But if I'm the Wizards, I'm definitely saying keep Caruso, give me Kuzma and THT
And some picks.
and a pick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First rounder or something. Yeah, because I mean, Bradley Beal, we know his potential, man. He's a star, and he's offensively has been tearing it up the last few years, just because he had to, right, to put up a chance every game, that he had to put up a lot of points. So offensively, he's legit, and um, so he's not gonna they're not gonna let him go for
And
anything that's
and at
not a
the end of
lot.
the day, you're right, man. We gotta go for it. It's just one of those like heart wrenching things that you don't want to give up your guys, especially two of them. Kyle Kuzma and THT and Caruso. They're all our guys. Those are our guys. Those are the only guys that are ours.
Homegrown. I feel you. No, I agree. But another thing to think about is like AD, right? Like we gave up the house to get AD, but AD is gonna be here for years. He might retire with LA, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's important to keep in mind that he just picked up an extension with the Lakers, right? And so if Beal comes in, I feel like he'll be another guy that he'll see the potential for the next few years with AD. Once LeBron is gone, it's going to be their team, probably AD's team, but still, it's like a 1-2 punch with them once LeBron is gone. But in the meantime, while it's three of them, man, they're going to be on another level.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You're right. I think you're right. The heart would say no, but the mind would have to overtake and say yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of short term versus long term, right? And I think short term we have to take into consideration LeBron's age, right? He's not going to be a Laker for the next 5 years. He's got another 2-3 years under his belt, and then after that, he's just got to go. That's just the way it works, right? And once that happens, Are we gonna get stuck holding the bag with just like one superstar AD, or can we figure out a way right now to get two superstars in here while LeBron is here? So then once LeBron is gone, there's still an upside, an opportunity for the Lakers to be contenders.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, man. I think we if that conversation is being had. The other thing is that it seems like so many teams are interested.
Yeah.
Who can offer the best package?
Exactly. Yeah. So that's huge, right? And if the Clippers are involved, I'm sure they'll have their
They don't have much though. I don't think they have much to.
not compared to the Lakers. No, they don't have as much as the Lakers for sure.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it depends who else is on the is in those talks.
yeah.
But if if it's the Lakers and the Clippers, I think it's definitely the Lakers are the best suitors. But
And I think one of the reasons why the Lakers and the Clippers are suitors for Bradley Beal is because he's from LA, I believe. Let me just double check. Um, or maybe not. No, he's from St. Louis.
yeah, and Bradley Beal though he's always kind of been one of those kind of low key superstars where it's like he doesn't get the attention maybe
Mhm.
because he's not in a market that
Yeah.
requires he's never been in a big market, so he's always kind of flown under the radar like that, kind of like Pau Gasol, but prior to him coming to the Lakers.
Right.
Like he was one of those, you knew he was good, but you didn't really know much about him. Then all of a sudden he comes to Lakers and it's like a championship contending team. So I think Bradley Beal, you're right, man, you're right.
I convinced you.
Yeah, I needed to talk it through again a couple times, man. Let's get Bradley Beal.
Yeah, because we have been having this conversation since a couple of weeks, right? Just kind of talking about trades, and I think at the beginning of the season, it was too early of a conversation. But right now, we're starting to see the weaknesses in the Lakers.
Yeah, perfect. Great point. I think that's the time in. Although I think we still have a couple weeks, so it's good. We're in a good place right now. If those are kind of uh, conversations that need to be had, which I'm sure they're already being had. Um, One move, a safe move, right, would be look for a center that could build that wall again. And if
Mhm.
not, a blockbuster trade like that would also be in the makings. Who's gonna determine that though?
The trade, like the Lakers are gonna like push for the trade.
No, I think the players are gonna determine that. If these young guys, right, are starting to hear those conversations, they better play their tails off because you do not want to be traded from the Lakers. So if I'm, Kyle Kuzma, Caruso, and THT, I'm playing my tail off. I don't care. I'm playing my tail off because you are not trading me. You are not trading me.
But
And
that's interesting, right? Because but at the end of the day, they don't have a say in a sense, right? If they 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 have they can we've seen it work when they want out, right? Like Harden, he wanted out, so we saw everything that he did physically and verbally to get himself out of Houston. But in the other way, all the players that got traded out of Brooklyn, they had no idea. You know what I mean? Like they were playing their game, they were doing their thing, and they somehow got included in the whole James Harden drama. So they're out of the Nets and into other teams. So it's kind of the same with these guys from the Lakers if it happens, right? But I mean, who knows, right? But
we're talking like it's a for sure thing.
it's not at all, right? We're just we're speculating. We're it's like GameStop right now.
Man, that's a crazy stuff going on.
Yeah.
But man, if I'm those guys though, I'm definitely pushing, trying to, you know, show my worth to the Lakers to try to keep from being traded,
Mhm.
and hopefully that's enough to convince the Lakers to say, hey, you know what, mate, we just need a center. We just need a center.
Yeah, yeah, and
I,
I
sorry.
see that. No, I see that too. I think that's the most important piece right now that I see. It's just another shot blocker, another rim protector that can come in and play the center position.
Yeah. So cool, man. I think that was some good recap of the last couple of games. Real quick, last we'll take a look. We mentioned the the standings, and we mentioned the Celtics and then the Hawks, and then last next Thursday we have the Nuggets again. So a
Yeah,
rematch of one of the matchups. Which the Nuggets, real quick, are in fifth place, 11-8.
yeah.
So not too bad. So those are the next three games we got. What are your thoughts on those three?
Not easy for sure. So um, let's see. Out of all of them, I would say probably I think the Nuggets would be the hardest, then Boston, then the Hawks.
Yeah, I think they have to go 2-1 in these.
Hmm.
They have to bounce back tomorrow, and then if they go 1-1 the next two games, I'm cool with that. But they have to win tomorrow
Yeah, and
because you don't want to lose three games in a row. Two, it's the Celtics,
yeah, yeah,
and
exactly.
three, it's the Celtics. So
No, yeah, it's true. No, they gotta pick it up again, and obviously, the mantra has been, don't lose two games in a row. But okay, that's broken. Now you need to get a new one. Don't lose three games in a row, right?
for sure.
But yeah, man. So that's good on Lakers talk. The last thing that I wanted to mention was in regard to Kobe. Another little discussion with Kobe. Anything that's popped up for you in the last week?
Kobe talk. Nah, I love Kobe talk. I mean, we just had, the 1 year passing. We mentioned it a little bit last week during our Kobe segment, but obviously the city is sad. Um, I was really happy to hear all the stories that Kobe of how much Kobe meant to everybody. It's kind of it's weird, to think that that one individual had that much impact.
Hmm.
I was hearing a story on the ESPN radio, on Max Kellerman. I love Max Kellerman, by the way. He's like one of my favorite sports commentators. I feel
Yeah.
like he was beat up by Stephen A. Smith, but I've liked him since he was here in LA the first time. But there was a story of him of Kobe at a soccer field, and I'm a soccer player, so I'm always kind of interested when Kobe showed love for soccer. I was always like, hell yeah, Kobe's a soccer player.
Hmm.
Being from Italy and all, or growing up part time in Italy, but that some dad and his daughter, were at the park, and they saw Kobe playing soccer with Gigi, and Kobe was straight up like, hey, do you want to come play soccer? And he played, his kid played soccer with Kobe and Gigi for like 15 minutes, and that
Wow.
was the type of dude that he was.
Yeah.
So stories like that, and I was hearing them all day. Everybody's Instagram's posts were, about their Kobe memories. So that was nice to see. And yeah, so that's kind of what I wanted to share.
For
I
sure.
did see your meditation and sleep thing though.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to bring up today. And basically, he was huge into sleep and meditation, right? And so, right, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. First is, okay, he's a professional athlete, so obviously he has the time to sleep and meditate. I feel like that's the first excuse that create, general people create. I don't have the time to get more sleep. I don't have the time to nap. I don't have the time to meditate. But if we get past that, right? If we get past that excuse of not having enough time, I think using him as an example of being a professional athlete, and he's a little older than LeBron, but I feel like he was one of the first athletes that I heard that from. LeBron is huge into that, right? Huge into just taking care of his body and mind and sleep and meditation. And but with Kobe, you know, that video that I sent you, and you can just look it up on Google, straight up Kobe Bryant sleep and meditation. He has a 5 minute video on that. Um, but it just goes to show, you know what I mean, that if you prioritize that, both of those, it can help you in so many different ways, right? Just to maintain focus on what's important to you. For him, it was basketball at that time, right? I'm sure that after he retired, he focused, you know, his attention towards his other businesses, right? His media company and other things, and his family. But while he was a basketball player, he used those tools, right, to making sure he slept a good amount of hours and meditating whenever he could, just so that he can maintain focus on what was the most important for him. And at that point was basketballs. But I think as me as a fan, you know, of Kobe, from the basketball player perspective, I think it showed me the outcome, right? When you prioritize sleep and meditation, he showed me what how that can help you, how those tools can help you to be the best at what you want to be. And so, you know, I definitely try and do that myself as much as I can. You know what I mean? I the in the last year too, I realized that I used to try and like stay up, and I want to be a go-getter and hustle. I want to like do things. I want to keep working on myself, you know, media, and I want to learn more. And I think that is important, and you have to have that ambition. But the foundation, in order for you to feel really good about being, you know, motivated to stay on top of all those things, is sleep. That's the foundation. And if you don't get enough sleep, you can be doing a disservice to your focus, you know. And then the meditation component is the same thing. It's just like if you are able to save 5 minutes on your calendar just for meditation, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like that's huge, because then you can debrief to yourself about your task and the things you did and the things you need to do. And you know, it's just so important to have that self-awareness.
Yeah, I agree. You know, the one in watching that video, and you brought it up too, I think was he mentioned his age, you know, like when he was 21, 22, it didn't matter. I mean, same for us, you know,
Mhm.
we could even go partying and then show up to work the next day unfazed, you know,
Without sleep.
without maybe 1 hour of sleep, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I also, you know, over the past year and a half, have, you know, decided, you know what, I'm not going to trade off tonight, for, you know, tonight, a lack of sleep tonight, you know, for whatever, however productive I am, to lose half of tomorrow, or maybe, you know, 3/4 of tomorrow, just based on me not getting enough sleep today. You know, and in the music world, right, it's interesting because that's always a trade-off, because that's kind of like when everybody's available, you know,
Mm.
you work with different artists, different producers, and it's usually in a nighttime setting, you know, you always hear like, oh, we stayed up till 4 or 5 a.m., you know, working on this song or whatever. And that's cool. And I've done that. Don't get me wrong. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things. But I've also kind of taken a stance now in working with other artists. I tell them, look, man, I need my sleep. So I rather like start my sessions earlier now,
Hmm.
like at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. That way we can make sure we get something done instead of starting at 9 o'clock, then having to work till 2 or 3. You know, so I definitely see that, you know, where a couple years ago I could do that no problem. But now, you know, I'm approaching 30. I'm gonna be 30 in March. So it's a
Yeah.
big year for me. But I'm not trying to sacrifice that sleep anymore. So Kobe is definitely onto something. And then the meditation, you know, I'm not sure how much you meditate. I think sure you do. Same thing. He mentioned it in the morning, right? In that video, he mentioned that he said 5 minutes in the morning. Uh, Typically, when I do it, it's the same thing. It's in the morning, and it's crazy because sometimes I'm just like, I don't even think about it. I'll just do it. But the way he kind of broke it down was really interesting. He kind of made it seem so simple, like he called it an anchor for your day. Like he used the word like your meditation is the anchor.
Hmm.
If you think about it, you're in that moment and it's just you. You know, it's just you thinking, like nobody else is talking to you. It's just you and your thoughts. And in a way, you're clearing your head, but at the same time, you're planning your your day and how you're gonna act. And you kind of know what little problems you're gonna encounter throughout the day, and then you also kind of predict how you're gonna react to those problems. You know, so that was kind of cool. Definitely recommend checking that little Kobe video out for a little bit of guidance on some sleep and meditation.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, there's people out there that have left blueprints and maps for us, right? And I see that as one. Kobe is he was a map for us to be the best of us, whatever that means. He he put it into an example, right? He showed it to us. He left it all. His That's his legacy, and these two things that we're talking about today, sleep and meditation, are just two basic foundational characteristics that we can take into our own life and take advantage of those and build around that, so that, like you said, in a way they're both anchors, right? Being able to sleep comfortably and not sacrifice your sleep, and then also being able to take some time to meditate. And in the morning, right, I do think that allows you to plan better. But the other perspective that I mentioned earlier is later on in the day, once you're done with your day, then you can debrief about your day, and you can think about what you did and the choices you made, and see how you could have made them better, right? And I feel like debriefing to yourself is important, and sometimes debriefing with other people too. Like I'm thinking back to when I was a student, and I was at Pasadena City College, and my preceptor there, Rudy, he, after a football game, right, it was like a 8-10 hour day just working with football, and we would debrief and we would talk about the things that went right, the things that went wrong. And that was the best learning experience for me, because I was getting the feedback from somebody that was experienced, somebody that had 20, 30, even 40 years of no, not 40, maybe like 20, 30 years of experience. He's not that old. But debriefing, man, I think debriefing is huge. And if you're able to kind of monitor yourself, that's even more important than somebody else telling you things. You know what I mean? Like being able to kind of look at yourself in an analytical point of view, and tell yourself, okay, I know I did this wrong, or I know I did this right. I need to work on my, this is a strength of mine, let me keep pushing this, or this is a weakness of mine, and let me figure out how I can get better at this. So one example for my own personal life, I've been scared of swimming for a long time. Eventually I took a beginner's class at Santa Monica College in 16 weeks, right, a semester. I passed that, learned how to tread water, learn all the different ways to swim. I was 100% confident I'm not drowning, right? So then I took it to the next level. I went surfing, and I did that for like 6 months. But eventually got to a point where I was getting really confident, and I got caught in some waves, got thrown like a piece of cloth in the washer, and I got scared again. The trauma kind of came back to me. And so I never went back, or I actually went back once or twice, but I was scared to even get past the waves. They were scaring me. And so then I was just like, okay, it's not me. But I faced
That
my
is
fear.
scary, man. I do not blame you, man.
It's
Nothing
scary.
scarier than a wave taking you, man. You just don't know where you, because you have no sense of direction at that point, and you're just like,
Yeah.
are you waiting for somebody to save you, or and then the next wave is coming? So I get it, man.
That's exactly what happened to me, right? I felt like a piece of cloth in the washer. When you look in, and the piece of cloth is just moving around. That's how I felt, and it was one of the scariest feelings I've ever had, for sure.
Oh man, that's crazy. Well,
Uh,
glad you're safe, man.
I survived it, so. uh, but yeah, so I do think that just having that self awareness is important, right? And being able to kind of monitor yourself and tell yourself, okay, let me try and face this fear, and let me see what skills I can improve on, or just my strengths, and hone into those.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, thank Kobe. Thank
His
Kobe for that.
legacy lives on, man, in some way. But yeah, that's it, man. You got anything else?
That's it for me, man. I just want to, anybody who's still tuning in with us, episode 8, we're going to call it episode 8. I'm not really sure what number we're on. We'll get the number right next episode, though.
So I got it
Uh,
right here. So look, so we did our first episode 6 months ago when I was in Las Vegas still, bro.
oh, yeah, that at the Rams. And I think I was at the beach or something.
The
Or,
Raiders. No, when you were at the beach, that was our third episode. That was actually still in the finals. With the beach episode, you were in it was the game 5 with the finals. And then 2 months ago was when we did Lakers' first moves in the 2020 offseason. So 2 months ago was still offseason, and then we did one month ago. And that one was titled NBA is back December 11. So we've, I mean, and that was the one that we had 177 views. That was the one that blew up a little bit. But yeah, we've had a good amount of episodes already, man.
yeah, that's good, man. Oh, I'm freaking enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying, having these conversations, talking about Laker, bouncing ideas off each other. So keep tuning in. Anybody who's still tuning in, I know somebody's watching.
We do, yeah. We have at least
You know,
I see. Last episode we had 6 views, so at least 6 people watched. Or maybe I was those. Oh, I was those views. But still, yeah. Anybody that's watching, man, yeah. Thanks for tuning in. Leave us some comments so we can reply. And keep talking about Lakers and Kobe.
all right, man.
Cool.
We'll leave it with that for next week. Hopefully, we'll be talking Thursday evening after 3 Laker wins.
Yep.
And a couple other wins in our daily lives.
Yes, sir.
Take care, brother. Have a good rest of the weekend and good start to next week.
Thank you. You as well, man. Stay safe out there.
Later.
Peace.